Okay, Zaina, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Let's take a look at your motion images. So this first set is moving subject different, I believe, although it looks as if it is the same person. That's okay. So here we have 1/250th of a second and very nicely frozen action. Up here, actually the ball is moving quickly enough that even a 2/50th of a second didn't quite freeze it, but let's look at the next one. And this one at 1/25th of a second, and very nicely captured. Look at the motion, look at his look at his arm and hand and what happens to it when you capture the motion. So nicely done here. The only thing I'd say is that the background is blurry too. So it looks as if you were kind of panning here instead of keeping the camera still. Okay. So let's look at your panning images. And same place, I guess. Again, 1/25th of a second. Good. So the background again is blurry because you're moving the camera relative to it. And your subject is a little blurry, but in the acceptable range. Okay. Okay, so yes, this also works for panning. You've definitely stopped the motion of the car and shown motion of the background, which obviously wasn't moving. You might stand a little more straight on so that the car passes directly in front of you, and you can move the camera across, directly across. But that said, nice job on panning. And same subject moving. Okay, so it looks as if he's marching here, right? But you just got him lifting off the ground, so that's great there. So that's at 1/250th of a second again. And then here 1/25th of a second. So you liked those shutter speeds. Again, nice job at showing the motion of the subject, but you also captured motion in the background. So it looks as if you were again panning. So you might want to try those again. It's up to you entirely. But with the showing motion, not the panning, but showing motion images, keeping the camera still. Either maybe you could put it on a table or a fence, or if you have a tripod, of course, that would work well. Okay, Zaina, very nice job overall. And if you want to redo those, that's great. Okay, thanks. Alex Olonier, again, I hope I said that correctly. Okay, let's look at your motion images. The first set, different subjects. So beautiful image of this bird at 1/250th of a second. I assume because you've submitted it as such, the bird was moving. We can't tell that, however. So perhaps capturing it just as it's lifting off or settling or flying it, or in some way showing that it's moving. Okay, but beautiful image. And this one, 25 seconds. Good job. We'll come in close here and we can see the cars, the trails of light from the cars. So very nicely done. I just want to point out the effect of the lights, and you're starting to get this starburst effect, and the smaller the aperture, the more of that effect you'll get. So had you shot this at like f4, we would just have seen blobs of light. But 2 stops smaller at f8, we're starting to see the starburst effect, and then at F16 or F22, we'd really get it a lot. Okay, very nice job on these. Different subjects, and I assume that these are panning, though it's not labeled as such. So great job here. It looks as if you were spinning, and I don't know if you're on a chair or what, but very nicely done. This at 1/3 of a second, excuse me. And wonderful streaks of light and color behind your hand. It works really nicely. This image is too dark. It's, it's difficult to see. Let's see, I can do a quick and dirty, well, okay, I'm not going to. At any rate, it's a little dark. And you did show motion of the car as well as the background. So, yeah, the car is definitely in motion. It's not frozen. So you might try a slightly faster shutter speed. So this was at 1 second. And so maybe 1/25 of a second. That should give you enough to both stop the motion of the car as you follow it and still show motion of the background. Now, nighttime is difficult, and I see your ISO was at 80, and that's really low for a night shot. And looking to see what time it was, a little after 9 at night. So I would do at least 800, ISO 800, and that will give you a lot more leeway, more choices in the exposures you can use. Okay. Okay, nice job, especially on the showing motion in this one. So this is 15 seconds. Oops, sorry. Just get that back there, yes. And the train is a wonderful blur passing through. In fact, we can kind of see the other side of the tracks through the train. So really nice job on this one. In this one, you've used 1 second, and that is actually, again, a little slow for stopping or freezing motion. And the train is here, that's great, but I am guessing that had it been in a little bit more, we would have seen the motion of the train. So as with the other set, for the freezing motion, use a slightly faster shutter speed. It doesn't have to be incredibly fast because it depends on how fast the subject is moving. So the faster the subject is moving, the faster the shutter speed you'll have to use if you want to freeze the motion. Okay, good job, thank you. Aaron, let's take a look at these images. So the first set is panning, and I actually took the liberty of lightening one of these images. So this was the first image here, and it's so dark we just can't really see what's going on. So I lightened it somewhat. You used a shutter speed of 1/40th of a second, and it kind of froze the motion of the car, but you weren't moving. So this does not show panning. So panning is when you move the camera along with the moving subject, right? And since the camera and the moving subject are moving at the same rate, the subject will be frozen. But the background, because you're moving the camera relative to the background will be blurred. But here, the background is not in motion, so to speak. Okay. And the same with this image. You used 1/10 of a second, which is even slower, but it looks as if the car isn't really moving. See how the hub, the spokes on the hubcap are really pretty sharp, relatively speaking. As is, well, the background is a little blurry, but that could also be because of the shallow depth of field, and that's what I would say it is. So if you want to redo this part, that's great. Okay, let's take a look at same moving subject. So this image at 1/8 of a second, and this kind of shows panning. It's hard when the subject is coming right at you. It's hard to show motion in general, but the background is blurred, so you move the camera a bit there. And this one, everything's kind of moving in this one. So I don't know if you reversed the panning images with the, labeling them. So this is kind of panning. But panning works, it works much better to show panning if the subject is moving directly across your field of vision. Okay. And let's look at this one. I see what you did. So, kind of. So you've labeled this set as showing motion, which it kind of does. So this is at 1/13 of a second. The background is somewhat blurry, but only one part of it. The part behind the car is relatively sharp. And the car itself is sharp. This one, well, the metadata is gone, so I don't know why. But it's not really, it's not really doing much of anything, Aaron. So I'm not sure what you're trying to show here. In terms of composition, it would work much better, I think, if you had the whole car, or perhaps chose a different subject in motion, rather than all cars. Okay. All right, Aaron, thank you. Kate Baumer. Okay, set number 1. Showing motion, I guess. The first image with a shutter speed of 1/1000th of a second. Very nicely done. You captured the motion of the blossom dropping beautifully. And here, with a shutter speed of 1/100th of a second, I think you could have gone even slower and shown even more motion, but very nicely captured. All right. And then this set at 1/100th of a second. Good overall. In fact, the balls are still moving a little more quickly than 1/100th of a second stopped, but close. And then here at 1/10th of a second, you're definitely showing the motion. I might come in a little bit closer. I don't think you need this information on the sides of the frame. So in the last one, you were closer, and I might do similarly in this one. You can do that, or you could come in really close, and just isolate that set of balls, I guess, so to speak. Something like that might work really nicely. Okay. All right. Let's go back and look at the rest of the images here. And so panning. So go ahead and reread the assignment for panning. I suggested that you use a shutter speed of, like, I think I suggested around a 40th, a 25th, or 40th of a second. And a 100th of a second is just too fast to stop the motion of the cat. Now, if it were something moving a lot faster, that would be great. Then you could follow it and stop the motion of the cat, but show motion, show the background as if it were in motion. So yeah, a slower shutter speed would stop the motion, stop the motion of the cat and show the background as a blur. I love that. Okay, and then the next image at 1/200th of a second, and that's definitely too fast a shutter speed to really, to really show motion. You got some, but to really show a nice blur of motion. I'm guessing whoever was driving was actually driving kind of fast. Okay, nice job overall. Yeah, good job overall. Thank you, Kate. Will Brooks. Okay. First set. Showing motion, obviously, at 1/15th of a second. Nice job. Look at what happened there. Isn't that gorgeous? Wow. That is just beautiful. Yeah. What an amazing effect. All right, great job there at showing motion. And here, freezing motion, 1/2000th of a second. Yeah, great job. Look at this little one thinking about jumping in, right? And just beautifully captured water. Oh, I love this right here. That's just amazing with this arc of water. Yeah, that's beautiful. All right. Okay, so showing motion or motion with the same subject, 1/2000th of a second and 1/15th of a second. Great job. I'm going to nitpick you here and tell you to back up enough so that you don't crop out the subject's feet. Okay. And I'm nitpicking because you did a really good job, and so I get to do that, right? Yeah, include her feet, and great job at both stopping and showing motion. All right, let's look at your final set. So I believe that these are for panning, and you know what? They are essentially the same image. So I would like to see, first of all, I'd like to see two different panning images. But also, yeah, I'd like to see you arrange it more carefully, set up the shot and where you are and what's going on. You definitely did that with the other sets of images, so I know that you can. They're acceptable for panning. You haven't quite stopped the motion of the car, so a slightly faster shutter speed might work. That's a 30th of a second. Or come in a little closer and pan, a little more carefully. And then, yeah, for the second image, you can use either one, but I'd like to see you redo at least one of these, okay? So great job on the other images, Will. Thanks.